if you have any questions, Tim, let us know in the comments. Hi, Jasmine.
Okay, we're good. I am good. How are you?
I feel good, and I'm excited to have you. I see your content every day on my timeline. You have so much enthusiasm, and I thought you'd be a perfect opportunity to chat with our audience here. So tell me about yourself. How did you start your business?
I just want to say that I'm excited to share, this part of the evening with you guys and to be here on the show. It truly is an honor. And as for me, starting my business, this really came about because I do coaching. So it really came about my own personal experience of dealing with depression and anxiety and working through it on my own and being like, wow, I've brought myself through this tunnel. I can do this as a career. And I was in the search of actually wanting to do something that was more fulfilling. Like at the time when this whole coaching came about, I was a server. And my anxiety and stress levels were so high being a server that I actually had to quit work and go on stress leave in order to take care of myself and do that process of healing. And I was also in school to be a holistic health coach at the time. And it opened this world up to having my own online coaching practice, actually being able to work one-on-one with clients, and to escape that whole 9-to-5 rat race and doing what everyone else was doing because it was easy. It opened up this door for me to do something fulfilling. And so then February of 2020, I officially launched my coaching practice, and I have been in this field for a year now.
That's excellent. One of the things that I really love about your message is you kind of tell people to live with purpose, and you try to tell people to get off of this whole kind of thing that we see in pop culture and music videos and movies, and just to kind of free yourself of doubt or guilt and obligation. Tell us a little bit more about that thought process.
So my whole entire messaging is really about coming back to authenticity. Really allowing ourselves to show up as we are, and whether that's, you being done up or that's you showing up as a hot mess. Oftentimes you'll see me on my feed. I'll be in a house coat. My hair will be wrapped in a towel. I'll just have woken up and I'll show up and I'll deliver a message. And it's because I feel like there's so much stigma and so much pressure put out by society, and especially by, the beauty brands, the movie industry, Hollywood, to be perfect all the time. And I took a look at myself and I was like, I'm not perfect. I was like, half the time I'm rolling around in sweats and I'm on day 3, I haven't washed my hair, kind of thing. And I was like, this is a kind of message I want to spread. I want people to feel okay with being themselves, with being the mess and being the put together. So that's how I decided I wanted to live. So I was like, this is a message that I want to share because I want to give other people the same permission to show up as they are, to show up who they are, to show up authentically, to show up with their too muchness, with their insecurities, with everything they've been carrying for so long, because there's so much shame around not allowing us to really showcase all our parts of being human. So that's what I've chosen to integrate into my messaging. And the whole entire thought process is, do I want to live for other people or do I want to live for myself?
And that's amazing, because that's what I think you explain it a little bit more in depth than I do. I think you just channeled and encompassed what personal branding truly is from an entrepreneur perspective, and just from a content creator perspective is just, even though I'm really sad about the negative things that happened due to the pandemic, I'm also happy that it happened, because if it wasn't for that, I think Instagram would still be the showboat app where everybody kind of shows off their vacations and their beautiful children. But what kind of people are you helping these days? What are you finding a lot of people are having issues with during this day and time?
So the specific, my clients tend to all be women, and it's usually anywhere from, I've worked with people as young as 18 all the way up to 55 has been the age group that I've worked with. And it's all come down to anxiety. A lot of people suffering with anxiety, but anxiety in the essence of not feeling like it's okay to be themselves, not feeling like it's okay to speak their truth, not feeling like it's okay to go after the desires and what it is that they want for themselves. It's a lot of people pleasing. It's a lot of, other people are telling me to do this, so I'm going to go after that. And a lot of people too struggling with feeling joy and happiness. because we're not used to actually spending this amount of time with ourselves. For a lot of people who went from that regular 9-to-5 workplace to all of a sudden being stuck at home, one, they're spending all that time with themselves, but also with family and also with other people within their household that they're not used to. So a lot of people are struggling with coping with other people's energy all the time, but as well as their own. So helping people come back home to themselves. That's a root thing that I work with people, being able to be okay being in the body, being okay feeling, being okay witnessing thoughts instead of being so overtaken by thoughts. And a lot of people too struggle with confidence and with self-doubt. And I also tell people who have social media that are actually active on it to use that as a tool for healing, to help with their own vulnerability and their own self-expression, because it is such a powerful tool if we use it in the right way.
I absolutely agree with you. And to touch on that, I noticed last year there were some celebrities that actually expressed depression, like Puff Daddy. I'm not a big fan of him, but I discovered last year that he went through depression. And I was sitting there and I'm like, how can a man who has 6 or 5 beautiful children, he has houses in like Manhattan and, you know, the Hamptons, how could he be depressed? And I thought about it too, that people are sitting within their inner demons and their childhood traumas and their issues and their doubts. And I think before myself, I was always like on the go, constantly going to this networking event. And when time stopped, that's when everything just started coming to me. Mm-hmm. So how can people cope during this time if they maybe can't afford a coach? What kind of things do you think people can do during their day to just collect themselves and not stay in a state of anxiety?
To disattach being the anxiety or being the emotion. So oftentimes people are in this place of just, oh, I'm so anxious. Like I am the anxiety or I am the depression. Like talk to it. Talk to the anxiety and the depression as being someone else, right? Because we get so consumed in that. But I love to just be present with it and be like, okay, anxiety, thank you for showing up. What are you trying to teach me right now? What are you trying to say here? And speaking to it, because when we disattach like that, we give it less power. We don't let it overconsume us because we're taking an outside perspective instead of being consumed in what's actually going on. So that would be a huge place to start. Having self-soothing practices. So anytime I'm feeling really overwhelmed or I'm feeling anxious, I love to rub my arm or I'll rub my thigh and I'll breathe. Because when we get into a state of feeling really overburdened by the emotion and especially anxiety, we get stuck in what I call overthinking land. So it's really hard to process anything because emotions aren't felt in the intellectual mind. Emotions are felt in the body. So we need to get ourselves out of here and get ourselves back into the body. So when we do the self-soothing techniques, it gets your mind to focus on the body, into feeling that sensation, into being present here. So it's a lot easier to manage the emotion and breathe through the emotion when we're in the place where the emotion is taking space. And then the third one would be talking to the inner child, because most oftentimes it's not the adult version of us that's freaking out or doesn't feel capable. It's that little girl or that little boy within us who was rejected, who was abandoned, who felt like they weren't able to do the very thing, that's freaking out, that's having the tantrum. So I oftentimes have so many conversations. I'm like, hey, little Jazzy, I just want you to know right now I'm here with you. What's going on? Like, we're going to be okay moving through this. And speaking out loud. That'll be the fourth point, is speaking out loud to yourself, because it's so much easier to process things when we can personally hear it rather than just, oh my God, I'm overthinking. It's like, speak it out loud, and then you'll be able to actually process it, interpret it, and understand it more than just being stuck in our little overthinking land.
I love that. And I've been doing this kind of like, it's been a 2-year kind of journey of this whole feminine energy thing. I'm not sure if you've kind of found these coaches online, and I feel like I've been gravitating towards that for the past 2 years, but there's also some misconceptions. Like, I remember I went to San Francisco a couple of years ago and I told a friend about it, and he's like, does that mean that you're like submissive when you go on a date or something? And I'm like, no, not at all. What are your thoughts on that? Do you kind of implement that when you're dealing with like boss lady women who are like super successful in their career or their business, but for whatever reason, they can't find a man or they can't keep something that sticks? Like, not sure what your thoughts are on that.
So I am very much in my feminine energy, and I can struggle with being in the masculine energy. And the feminine energy, like the misconception is, oh, they're lazy, they're just waiting around for things to happen. But the thing is I focus on how I'm feeling. I focus on my energetics more so than what it is that I'm actually doing. So feminine energy is more about being. It's like being that woman who's open, being that woman who feels like it's possible. And that's the same direction I've been in the last year, is like, how can I activate more of my feminine energy? Because if we're closed off and we're unable to receive, you're not able to welcome in the masculine, which is money, which is success, which is abundance, which is love. So for me, working on the feminine is, how can I remain open? You know, usually when I want to close off because I'm scared, it's like, how can I remain open and let this in? And it's been a game changer. You know, I focus on feeling worthy and opening myself up to it. I've been able to go deeper with clients. I've been able to welcome in money a lot easier. I've been able to welcome in my current partner. So I think women who are more of that hustle zone and who are like super successful, it works for some of those women. But what ends up happening is you get so locked into your masculine that you end up just emasculating all these other men who come your way. It's just like, well, you know, I don't need a man to do this. You know, men aren't on the same level as me, and it's just like, men want to be needed. Men want to have purpose. So when we're so high-strung in our masculine, right, then you repel a man who actually wants to be there for you, and you're going to attract a man who's too far-fetched in his feminine. So I do believe in the importance of working on the feminine and the masculine energetics, simply because I've experienced the difference firsthand. But it's game changing. It takes you away from this notion of, I need to do in order to be enough. I need to do in order to welcome in success. It's like, I can be successful if I'm going to work on here and open up my channel. I'm going to open up my heart. I'm going to open up my capacity to actually receiving the thing that I want. Because if we remain closed off, no matter how much stuff you do, no matter how much mindset stuff you work on, it's going to be really hard to actually receive it when it's presented in front of you.
Oh, that was beautifully said. Yeah. And how were you inspired by this? Like, do you have a parent or a family member or someone that kind of inspired you at a young age? Be curious to know, like, your story and how you got into holistic coaching.
So I'm actually I'm the only one in my family who's actually gone this route. But what helped me go into like holistic life coaching was, I worked at a health food store for 4 years. And the women who worked in that space were into spirituality, and they were into more of like the mystical type stuff. And like that opened my portal to the life that I live now, because I never knew about any of this stuff. And then magically, I would come across Instagram accounts that were more into like the mindset coaching, more into the inner work side of the things, more into like the energetics. And I just got really, really curious. And then I found books, and then I found other authors and other speakers. And I was like, this, like what it is that they're saying, like resonates and feels so good in my body. Like I want to keep learning. And then I took onto the techniques and I applied it. And I was like, wow, like my life has transformed and feels so much better with these ways of living than the way that I lived before. But I would definitely say I'm the first person in my family to like break generational trauma, to break the cycles, to cultivate so much self-awareness. That now it's rippling out. But no, I didn't have like the inspiration or the guidance. It was magically I came across beautiful women that I worked with, and then this whole portal was opened. And then curious old me was like, I'm gonna go down this rabbit hole. I'm gonna see where it takes me, and it's brought me here. And I'm forever grateful and thankful that I'm in this space, because I don't live life the same way that I used to 3 years ago.
Wow. Well, you are an inspiration, so I'm sure someone will see your video and want to go down that trail or journey as well. And do you have any courses? Do you have any live streams that you do that you would like to let everybody know about?
So as of right now, I don't have any active enrollment courses, but I do have one-on-one packages for anyone who wants that support and guidance. And for anyone out there, if you choose to work with a coach, I just highly recommend working in packages, because what ends up happening with one-on-one sessions is people often lack the integration part. And that's the thing that I focus on within coaching is you have to take everything that you're learning and actually apply it, you guys, because otherwise we end up consuming, and you get nowhere because the actual transformation happens in the integration and within the embodiment. So anyone who's seeking support in that essence, I have one-on-one packages that we start at 4 weeks and we do like a monthly basis. And as well as on my channel right now, I'm doing as many lives as I can, going as live as many days as I can within the week. I've missed a few. I've been trying to do a 30-day challenge, but life has happened and I just didn't have the time to sneak in. But I do put out a lot of free content on my Instagram page, and I'm starting up a podcast at the end of this month. So I have a few different outlets for you guys to get this content.
Well, that's excellent. And I couldn't tell the difference. Every time I'm on Instagram, I'm like, and I go on probably about 5 times a day. I'm like, Jasmine, I need this girl on the Canada Business Show because you're just so bright and energetic. And it's very rare for me to see that. I'm just being transparent with you. And trust me, I consume a lot of content on like 5 different apps, but your energy, it's beautiful and it's real and it's genuine. And I don't think you realize how, like, you touched me. I'm sorry, I don't want to, yeah. But it's nice to see another woman like embrace themselves and not be afraid to show up on social media and do it consistently. And I'm glad that you're on the show. But I'd like for people to ask questions. I know we have several people here. Does anyone have any questions for Jasmine?
Thank you for that. Because I think like as a content creator and something that you can relate to too is it's so easy to lose ourselves in our impact because you're on an app, right? And yes, you engage with people in the DMs and the comments, but like you don't get this kind of interaction with a whole bunch of people. So sometimes you're like, I don't know if the way that I want to be received or if the way that I want to make an impact is being received in that way. So it feels really good to hear that because one thing I take pride in is being very mindful and intentional of how I share myself online. And I check in with people. I check in with my close family and friends. I was like, I just want to make sure like how I'm showing up online, that's the real me, right? And they're like, yeah, like you show up the same. I was like, okay, good. Because that's the whole entire reason why I'm showing up on this app, because I don't want to have to be someone different online and then someone different offline, right? I want people to be like this is me across all boards. If you were to meet me on the street, I'd be the same type of person. Probably a little bit more swearing, but that's the only thing. Other than that, like I'm the same type of energetic person and I try to come and interact with heart is my biggest intention across what it is that I do, because at the end of the day, we're all human. We're all craving connection. We're all craving validation. We're all craving acknowledgement. And if I can be that human to give that to someone else, then I feel like my job's done, Like I feel like I'm doing a really good impact in the world.
That's awesome. Hey, I saw somebody, the real life Veronica. Yes, love you, Jeff. Very cool. Well, I know you probably have a million things to do tonight. I appreciate your energy and your presence, and I'd love to have you back on the show if the spring or the summer you want to come back. Maybe you've got something. Let me know, girl. I'm here. So thank you for joining. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And I will upload this on